Hilchos Shechitah, Perek Shneim Asar. The laws of ritual slaughter, chapter 12. We're done with the treifa section. We're finished with the animal anatomy. Now we're moving on to other mitzvahs that are related to slaughter. For the next 3 days, each day is going to deal with a different mitzvah. Today, we talk about what's called oisoi ve'es benoi. Oisoi ve'es benoi means a prohibition to slaughter a parent and a child animal on the same day. We're going to see that primarily it applies to the mother, even though the Torah uses the masculine term, oto, but really it's reference ota. It means a mother animal and its baby, son, daughter, doesn't matter, you cannot slaughter on the same day. Says the Rambam, halacha aleph, hashaychet oisei ve'ez benoi b'yom echad. If somebody slaughters a parent and child animal on the same day, habasar mutar ba'achila. The meat of both animals are permitted to be eaten. The meat is kosher, of course, assuming you slaughtered it properly. V'hashaychet loika. But the one who slaughters,
they consider that glad.
if the lungs are glad, they're glad kosher. V'hashaychet loika. But the slaughterer gets lashes because he has committed an avera, he has committed a sin. Shanemar, as it says clearly in the Torah, oisai ve'es benoi lo yisishchatu b'yom echad. That's the red letters here. The Torah begins with the words v'shoir oiseh, an ox or a sheep, and we'll soon see why those words are important. Oisei ve'ez benoi lo yisishchatu b'yom echad. It and its son, it and its child, you should not slaughter on the same day, and therefore if you did, you get lashes. However, the lashes only come for the slaughtering of the second animal. Of course, right? You slaughter the mother cow, there's no problem with that. Once you slaughter the baby cow, now you've done 2 on 1 day. Or the opposite. You slaughter the baby cow first, no problem. Once you slaughter the mother cow, that's when you've done parent-child on the same day, that's when you get lashes. Lefichach, therefore, im shachat echad mishneyan. If one Jew slaughters one of the animals, comes a second Jew and slaughters the second animal, the mother or the son, only the friend, only the second Jew gets lashes because only he was the one who did the prohibition. This prohibition of slaughtering a parent and a child applies at all times, even when there's no Beis HaMikdash, and in all places. No matter if you're in Israel, the diaspora, even in California. You can't slaughter a parent and child animal on the same day. B'chulin uv'mukdashin. It even applies to animals that are mundane, unholy, or even consecrated. They're meant to be a sacrifice. It doesn't matter. Bein kadashim hane'echalin, bein kadashim she'eino ne'echalin. It doesn't even matter if the sacrifice is a type that's going to be eaten or not. In books 8 and 9, talking about sacrifices at length, we're going to see some sacrifices are eaten by the Kohanim, some sacrifices are going on the Mizbeach completely. We actually say it every morning in Shacharis before Hodu. We have a section of Mishnah that's called Ezehu Mekayman, where we list all the different laws to all the different types of sacrifices. So you see, some are eaten, some are not eaten, doesn't matter. This mitzvah is about the slaughter. I don't care who eats it. If you slaughter a mother and a son on the same day, animal, then you've transgressed the prohibition. Lefichach, therefore, harishain sheshachat ba'azara, v'hasheni b'chutz. If the first Jew slaughters the mother or the child animal in the Beis HaMikdash, in the temple courtyard, and the second one slaughters the mother or the child outside of the temple. Or the opposite. The first Jew slaughters outside the temple, the second one in the temple courtyard. Whether both animals were unholy and therefore it's prohibited to slaughter it in the temple, as we learned in chapter 2 of these laws, or they're both sacrifices. One of them is holy, one of them is not holy. Whoever slaughtered last, whoever slaughtered second, gets lashes for slaughtering a parent and child on the same day. Now says the Rambam, every word in the verse is exact. So the word sishchatu, you cannot slaughter on the same day, tells us, Ein isur oisei ve'ez benoi noiheg elo b'shchita bilvad. The whole prohibition of parent and child slaughtering is only for the actual act of a kosher slaughter. Shanemar, because it says, Lo yisishchatu, you shall not slaughter. B'shchitas shneyan hu ha'isur. It's the slaughtering of them both, which is the prohibition. But say, for example, you shoot one, avalim nachar harishain, or if you ripped one open, or it became a nevela, you did a slaughter which was unacceptable. You did a non-kosher shechitah. Mutar lishchait, then it's permitted to slaughter properly the other one. because the first one wasn't slaughtered properly. The chenim shachat harishain, also the other way. You slaughter the first one kosher, v'nachar hasheni and yisnabel b'yadid, and you rip the second one open, or it becomes a nevela because you did an unacceptable shechita, or let's say you just shot it with a gun. Pater, you're exempt. We're not going to hold you accountable on this prohibition because you have to do tishchatu, you have to slaughter both of them to transgress. Halacha dalid cheirei sheita v'katan sheshachatu. If you have a deaf mute or a mentally unstable person or a child who slaughtered beinam levein atzman, between themselves, in other words, privately, because we saw in chapter 4 that if a deaf mute or a mentally disturbed person slaughters, if a regular adult is watching them, supervising, then it's an okay slaughter. But if they slaughter privately, es harishain, the first animal, mutter lishchait sheni achareyem, it's okay for a regular Jew to slaughter the second animal after them. Lefi she'ein shchitasan shchita klal. Listen to this: the deaf mute or the mentally unstable or the child slaughter is not considered a slaughter, even if they fulfilled all the laws. But because an improper person did it, it's not a good shchita, and therefore, if they slaughter the mother cow, you can go and slaughter the same day the child calf. Halacha hey ashechet asarisha in mahareu sveik nevela. If somebody slaughters a first animal and there's a doubt, you're not sure if it's an unacceptable shechita or not. Asur lishchet hasheni. So because of the doubt, you have to assume it's a kosher shechita, and you can't go ahead and slaughter the second one because maybe you're going to end up doing them on the same day. If you did slaughter it after the fact, we can't hold you accountable, can't give you lashes because maybe the first one was an improper shechita, and therefore, no punishment, but there is a prohibition. Halacha vav shechita she'eina re'uya la'achila shma shechita. Even if it's a slaughter which cannot allow you to eat the meat, it's still considered to be a slaughter. In other words, even if you're dealing with an animal which it's forbidden to eat, the fact that you slaughter them both in the same day is already not okay. Lefichach, therefore, let's take a look at these 4 examples. Harishan sheshachat chulin ba'azara. If the first person slaughters an unholy animal in the temple, that's forbidden. We saw in chapter 2, it's a prohibition. You cannot slaughter a regular animal in the Beis HaMikdash. But he did. Oy treifa, or he slaughtered an animal which is treif. That's the last 7 days we've been learning about treif animals, mortal wounds. Once the animal gets a mortal wound, even if you slaughter it, it doesn't help. So this is a slaughter which cannot lead to eating. Oy shair hanisko, or he slaughtered an ox meant to be stoned. We'll see later in the 10th book that if an ox gores a person and the person dies, the ox has to be stoned. And you cannot benefit from the ox's meat. So if you slaughter this ox, it's a shechita which is not going to lead to any eating. The egla arufa, or if you slaughtered the calf that's meant to have its neck broken. When you find a dead body in the middle of nowhere and you don't know who killed him, the nearest city has to bring a special calf. They break its neck from the back, and there's a whole ceremony that's called egla arufa. So what if you slaughtered this calf? It wasn't supposed to be slaughtered, but you slaughtered it. You can't eat it. Upara aduma, the red cow, special red cow. It only came once in a couple of generations that they would use to purify people from the tumah of the dead, from corpse impurity. If you slaughter it, you can't eat it. Oisha shachat la'avedas kechavim, or you slaughtered for an idol worship. So any of these cases, whatever you slaughtered cannot be eaten. But let's say it's a parent of an animal, and then you went ahead, ubaha acharin meshachat asasheni, comes a second Jew and slaughters its kid. So still, even though the mom's shechita cannot be eaten, loike, the second guy who slaughters the kid, gets lashes. Because even though the shechita wasn't fitting to be eaten, it's still a shechita. The chenim shachat harisha nasa echad. Same thing if it was the other way. One Jew slaughters a kid of an animal, a calf. Ubaha acharin b'shachat asasheni, comes the second Jew, slaughters the second animal, which is uneatable. It's an unholy animal in the temple. It's an ox meant to be stoned. It's the calf that's meant to have its neck broken. It's the red cow. You get lashes. Because bottom line is you've done a shechita to a parent and a child animal on the same day. If a person, in this case, would slaughter the second animal for idol worship, even though in the first case, when it was the opposite way, first for idol worship, second regular, the second guy gets lashes, here, if the second guy slaughters the second animal for idol worship, Potter mishum oisev as benai. He's exempt for the prohibition of mother and son, shadin is chayav benafshay, because he's liable to the death penalty. For slaughtering to idol worship, you get a greater punishment. When you get a greater punishment, we don't give you two punishments. You only get the heavier one. Except if they warned him when he was about to do the slaughter, that the warning that they gave him was, hey, don't slaughter it because you're going to be slaughtering a mom and a son on the same day. They didn't say, don't slaughter it because you're slaughtering for idol worship. So if the warning only contained this prohibition of the mother offspring, like you get lashes, because then we're only going to hold you accountable for what you were warned for. Halacha ches, back to the verse, every word again is exact. Ein isur oisev as benoi noiheg ela bibehema tahira bilvat. The prohibition of mother and offspring only applies to a kosher, domesticated animal. Shenemar, because what does it say? It doesn't just say any animal, don't slaughter mom and kid. It says v'shoir oiseh oisev as benoi lois hishchatu b'yem echad. An ox or a sheep, it and its son don't slaughter on the same day. So only if the animal's in the category of ox and sheep, that's when it's prohibited to slaughter the mom and the kid on the same day. It also applies to hybrids. So here's the following couple of cases. Keitha, what does it mean it applies to hybrids? Tzvi sheba'al ha'ez. You have a deer, a male deer, mates with a female goat, and then they have a child. Now, if you look it up on Google, a deer and a goat, if they mate, they cannot have offspring, according to Google. I don't know.
No. It's also Rashi said.
But in the Rambam, it seems possible. So you have a dad deer and a mom goat, and they have a baby. So now, loike, v'shachat ha'ez ve'ez bena. So if you would slaughter the mother, who is a full-on goat, and the baby, who is a droat, because it's a deer and a goat, if that's a word, but still, you've slaughtered the mom and the kid. Loike, you get lashes. But if it's the opposite way, aval ha'ez shabal ha'tzviya, if it's a dad goat and a mom deer, asur lishchait oisav es bena v'im shachat eine loike. It's still prohibited to slaughter this mom deer and this baby droat. However, you're not going to get lashes. Why? Because the whole prohibition is for the mom. And the mom, in this case, is not a behema. It's a chaya, it's a regular beast. Eine loike. Paro b'na asra Torah, leitzvio b'na. A cow and its kid were forbidden by the Torah, not a goat and its kid. Now, let's consider, however, the following case. Still, same situation. Dad is a goat, mom is a deer. They have a droat, but then the droat has another droat. Okay? So now everybody agrees that in this animal, there's some goat. Right? So when this one was slaughtered with its mom is a full-on deer, so we can't hold you accountable. But if this animal is a mom, part of its essence is a goat. So if it has its kid, if the daughter of this deer was a female, and it had a child of its own, and you slaughter both droats, loike, then you get lashes, because you have slaughtered here two animals that have behema, that have domesticated animals in them. No, that's far enough from the mic, don't worry about it. Same thing if you have a hybrid that comes from a sheep and a goat. This is for sure, because this is both behemoths, this is both regular animals. Whether the father was a sheep and the mother was a goat, or the father was a goat and the mother was a sheep, which they actually call today a geep or a shoat. It goes both ways. Depending which way it is, they'll call it a shoat or a jeep or a geep, whatever. This is actually a picture of a hybrid baby. So then, then of course you get lashes, because of course there's either way. The mom is a behema and the kid is a behema for sure, so you get lashes. Halacha yod mutar lishchet samu beres. You're allowed to slaughter a pregnant animal. Ubar yerech imayu, because the fetus is considered to be part of its mother, not a separate entity. So if you slaughter the pregnant, you haven't slaughtered the mom and the kid. It's just one slaughter. But if after you slaughter the mother, the fetus emerged alive and took a step on the ground, ideally you shouldn't slaughter it on the same day, but if you did, we're not going to hold you accountable because it wasn't born at the time that its mother was alive. It only came out to the earth after its mother died. Therefore, we're not going to hold you accountable. The whole prohibition of parent and offspring primarily applies to females, moms. Because we can know with certainty that this is the kid. The mom gives birth to the kid. If you had some way to know, and today we know we could do DNA testing, if you had some way to know for sure that this is the father, definitely, then even the father and the baby, you wouldn't slaughter on the same day. But even if you did, we're not going to hold you accountable. We can't give you lashes. There's a doubt if it applies to dads or only to moms. So ideally, in the first place, you wouldn't do it, but if you did it, it's okay. Here we have a couple of interesting scenarios. And basically, you have to always ask yourself, not how many prohibitions were violated, but how many acts that were forbidden were done. We're going to give a bunch of scenarios where you can do 2 acts, but only get 1 prohibition, 1 violation, or you can do 1 act and get multiple violations. In the end of the day, for punishment, it's going to depend on how many acts you did. So, first scenario. A person slaughters a cow, mom cow, over here, and then slaughters 2 of its offspring. How many acts have you done forbidden? 2. Therefore, you get 2 sets of lashes. Because when you slaughtered this one, that was the mom and the son on the same day, you did that one again, mom and son on the same day. What if you did first slaughter the babies, 2 kids, and then you slaughtered the mom? So even though in this act you've now done 2 violations, because for each kid you slaughtered its mom, but how many acts did you do, bottom line? Only 1. The prohibited act was 1 slaughter. This slaughtering the mom was the prohibited act, and therefore you only get 1 set of lashes. Shechitah ve'esbita. Ve'esben bita, if you slaughtered it, its daughter, and its grandson. So these 3 here. You've done twice a prohibited act. Like Eshtayim, you get 2 lashes. Because when you slaughter this one, it's the mom. This one is now the mom and the son. That's 1 prohibition. Then you add this one, that's the mom and its son. 2 prohibitions again. However, Shechitah ve'esben bita. Ve'achar kach shachat sabas, if you first slaughtered grandma, then you slaughtered grandson, and then you slaughtered the middle one. So here, it's this act where the 2 violations happened. Because in 1 act, you did mom and son here, mom and son there. So therefore, you only get one set of lashes, whether it's you or somebody else, whoever does this final act, even though it's 2 violations, but 1 act, 1 lashes. 2 Jews buy 2 animals. This one buys the mom, this one buys the daughter, and they came to court. They both want to have dinner today, but they both can't slaughter today. Who gets priority? So the dry law is that whoever bought the animal first, slaughters first, and the second has to wait till tomorrow. But if the second buyer goes ahead and slaughters, well, he wins. And the first guy, of course, has to wait till the next day. But ideally, first come, first serve. There are 4 times a year. When you sell an animal to your friend, you must notify the customer and tell him, I already sold the mom or the kid today to somebody else who wants to slaughter. So the second buyer should wait and not slaughter till the next day. In other words, usually it's uncommon. If you're a cattle seller, you don't have to go around notifying everybody, this is the mom, this is the son. But if it's these 4 times a year when everybody's probably slaughtering, on the same day, you have the responsibility to avoid it. When is that? The Eluhein, they are Erev Yom Tov Ha'acharein Shel Chag, the day before the final day of Sukkot, Shmini Atzeret, Simchat Torah. That's when everybody slaughters big, makes big feasts. The Erev Yom Tov Rishon Shel Pesach, the day before the beginning of Passover. The Erev Atzeres, the day before Shavuos. The Erev Rosh Hashanah, the day before Rosh Hashanah. These are all days when people are making big feasts.
Right, Carbon Pesach.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful and notify. If you have both, you got to tell the guy, listen, I already sold the mother, I already sold the son. Halacha Tezvav, with Carbon Pesach, by the way, it's probably not going to happen because Carbon Pesach has to be a male. So you wouldn't have the mom and the son, but for a Pesach Seder, let's say, for a meal. Halacha Tezvav, Bamed Dvarim Amurim. When, even the 4 times a year, when does it apply that you have to notify him? Only kishira zeh shalakach ba'acharayna nechpaz liknais. If the seller sees the second buyer in a rush to buy, v'haya b'soif hayom, and it was the end of the day, shecheskasse shel shechitah, in which case you can presume that he wants to buy and slaughter right away. Avalim haya revach bayom, but if there was time in the day, ein tzarich le'idiyah, you don't have to notify him, shema la'ish le'lamachar, because maybe anyways, he'll only slaughter the next day. So no reason to get him into a headache and anxious, so you just let him go. If it's the end of the day and you see he's in a rush, then you got to let him know. If you sell the mom animal to the groom side of the wedding and the daughter to the bride side of the wedding, you can assume that they're going to slaughter the same day. And you have to let them know. They're for sure going to slaughter the same day because they're both preparing one meal for the wedding. And therefore, it's your responsibility to notify them. Anything like that. Now, says the Rambam, this is what Philip was alluding to before. What qualifies as a day? You say you can't slaughter on the same day. How long is a day? When we say day about mom-child slaughtering, so it goes like the Jewish calendar, where the day follows the night. In other words, the day begins at sundown. It's not about a 24-hour period. It's as long as you're within the same calendar date, Jewish calendar date, you have a prohibition to slaughter the same day. Ketzad, what would that mean practically? Mr. A slaughters the first animal on the night of Wednesday. So we would call this Tuesday night, but it's already Wednesday for Jewish law. So Mr. B has to wait till the beginning of the night of Thursday, which is Wednesday night, to slaughter. That's the maximum difference. It'll be a full 24 hours. But the chenim shachat harishain b'soif yom revi kaidem ben hashmashes, were Mr. A to slaughter right at the end of Wednesday, 2 minutes before sunset. Shechet hasheni b'tchilas leil chamishi. Then Mr. B, 10 minutes later, can slaughter because it's already a new calendar date, the night of Thursday. Shachat rishain ben hashmashes shel leil chamishi. If the first guy slaughters ben hashmashot, means like after sunset, before nightfall. It's like a doubtful time. Going out of Wednesday into Thursday, so you have to be stringent. You have to assume that Thursday already began, and therefore la yishchet hasheni ad lil shishi. Mr. B can only slaughter at the beginning of Friday. V'im shachat b'yem chamishi ein leika. But if you slaughter on Thursday, you're not going to get lashes because you don't know for sure that he slaughtered on Thursday, so we can't hold you accountable. And this is where the commentaries today debate, what about the dateline? Or what about the flying? You can extend the calendar date by flying, but it's still the same day. So the consensus pretty much is that it would be forbidden. As long as you're in the same calendar date, you just flew backwards, you saved yourself time, even if your day is going to be longer, but as long as it's the same calendar date, it's forbidden. In Australia, with crossing the dateline, you would probably consider it a different day, even though it would be like repeat Tuesday or Wednesday. But that's the point.
I think in Argentina,
it's got to be on the same calendar date to be forbidden. Otherwise, it's permitted.